Honorable Chopper,
Morning, Chair.
Honorable Bangazita,
Good morning, Chairperson.
Honorable Vessels,
Good morning, Chair.
Honorable Mattheys,
Good morning, Chair.
Mkhwanazi, good morning.
Homo.
Honorable Nomvalo,
Sanibona Sihlalo.
Honorable Shongwe,
Sanibonani eMzantsi Afrika.
good morning. Honorable Pambo, good morning. Advocate Mkhize,
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members.
good morning, Mr. Paulo Sullivan.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning, Honorable Skosana.
Ngiyalochisa mgcini sihlalo nesitshaba sikaZimo namalunga wesibethamthetho esiphakemleko.
Mr. Techana, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Ramano. Good morning to members of staff in the political caucuses. Honorable members, thank you so much for making yourselves available. We are at S12A venue at the NCOP building. The venue is very small, honorable members, but Mr. Ramano says I must tell you that when we take a break at 1, we must proceed to Good Hope Chambers where we will conclude today's business. Mr. Paulo Sullivan, welcome. And let me thank you for agreeing to come back. And let me also thank you for writing to us, apologizing for what happened last week, where you ended up leaving the proceedings in the manner that it happened. But what is very important that you are here today and we are going to continue with our business. And I will give you some 5 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes. If there is anything you want to say, you say before we go ahead with the proceedings. Today we are going to allow the members to interact with you and thereafter give to the legal team to conclude their business with you, and we should be able to release you. Can I check if there is any 1 or 2 things that you want to say?
No, thank you, Chair. I'm just happy to continue to complete this exercise because it's been going on for quite some time now.
Yeah.
And I'm keen to get it finalized, yeah.
Okay. Honorable members, can I check between the parties if there is any one of you who has anything to say before we rotate for questions? ANC.
Thanks, Chair. Just one thing, Chair, because there is a document that was circulated to members yesterday deemed to be an apology from the witness. If you can lead us there so that the deemed apology should be read for the record before we maybe enter in questioning. Thank you very much.
Okay. The MKP.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say to you, Chair, and good morning to Mr. O'Sullivan, that what happened outside, not in fact, in the precinct of Parliament last week when he left, he made some allegations against me that I must go and pay my debt at the bank. Now, I have to say it here, that at a later stage I'm going to show you and him, he must retract that as aspersion, casting aspersion that I'm owing 600,000 because that money was paid and the proof is here, it was paid last year. So for him to point a finger at me and say, when I'm saying to him, you are running away, he said, I'm running away from the bank. You know, I just want him to be prepared for that because the issue which he was talking about was done and dusted. And in fact, Chair, if you're running a business, if you know what business is all about, there was nothing sinister of one owing or having a judgment or whatever because it was a default judgment. But that judgment, which is talking about, is history. And I've got proof here that money was paid. When he was doing interviews on NCA, he was asked several times on a daily newspaper, he mentioned that 600,000. And I want to just say to you, Chair, the proof is here, so I want him to apologize and retract that statement. Okay. And yeah, the Bible, thank you.
The DA.
Thank you, Chairperson. We will reserve in the question time for our statements. Thank you.
The EFF.
Thanks, Chair. We'll wait for the questions.
Okay. The IFP.
Well, thank you, Chairperson. We will be actually waiting to interact with the witness.
The PA.
Thank you.
The FF plus.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing for now.
Okay. When we circulated the letter that Mr. Paul O'Sullivan.
You don't ask me, Chair. But I have nothing
Honorable
to say,
James,
like,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Chair.
Look, I must apologize. You know the sitting arrangement today. I'm always looking there. I'm looking for you there where I know it to be your usual spot. I'm sorry.
Apology accepted. Thanks, Chair.
Yeah. Anything that you want to say?
No, nothing for now. Thank you.
Okay. Honorable members, yesterday when the apology was circulated, we said that there was a part in the apology that included confidential information, which the witness has requested that it must stay between us and him. And I'm saying to Bonani that if that apology has to be put on record, you may not have to be surprised when certain parts of that apology are not being read here publicly. Is that okay, Mr. O'Sullivan?
Sorry, what's the question, Chair?
I'm saying that in the letter that you wrote to us, you requested that there was some part which was confidential because it contains your personal records. And you may not want, personal details, which you may not want them to go out publicly. Am I representing you correctly?
That is correct, Chairman.
Thank you so much. Maybe even without reading that letter into is it not better when you say it yourself? You say it the way you want it to be said. I think it will be better that way if you say it yourself.
Thank you, Chairman. Is it working properly?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So it's a lengthy document. The beginning of it, it's an affidavit under oath. It says, I, the undersigned Paul O'Sullivan, state under oath as follows. The purpose of this affidavit is to deal with my apology for and reasons for departure from the ad hoc committee on 2026-02-26. I unreservedly apologize to the Speaker of the National Assembly and all Member of Parliament, including but not limited to the Chairman and members of the Ad Hoc Committee, for departing from the Ad Hoc Committee at 13:15 on 2026-02-26. The circumstances leading to my departure can be described as follows, and then that I explain a number of confidential reasons why it was necessary for me to leave.
Yeah.
So that's the apology I gave, Chairman.
Thank you so much. What we will do, honorable members, because this is not a housekeeping meeting, the apology has been formally presented before yourselves. And then at your own time, in your own meeting, you can look at the apology and decide whether you accept it or not. But the witness, what he says is that he is unreservedly, I heard you using the word apologize for what happened on that day. I'm going to allocate your members. Each one of you, I'm giving 20 minutes because I'm understanding that you are not meeting with the witness for the first time. This is the fourth time today. So I'm going to, maybe let me check first. Who are the members who still have matters that they want to raise with the witness? ANC 1, 2. DA is 1, is Honorable Top. From the ANC is Honorable Sangoni and Honorable Ngola. From the DA is Honorable Topa. From the MKP is the 3 of them. From the EFF is the Parliament, Honorable Matthews. And then we have Bangazita. And then we have Vessels, Honorable Vessels and Honorable James. Honorable Kola Barnett, are you triggered? No, it's not per party, it's per person. Are you satisfied that Honorable Topa will represent you? Can I check again before I close the list? It's only yourself, Honorable Kola Barnett, and who have not raised hands. Am I correct? Thank you so much. Going, the list is closed. I must check the time. Can I remind all of you that the witness is still under oath? We don't need to administer oath again. What is the time now? Yes, let's quickly check if we have apologies for today. Yes, Honorable Sangoni.
Thank you, Chair. We have an apology from Honorable Ntuli. He is engaged in other parliamentary matters today. And then Honorable Sokanyile is going to depart and join us again after lunch. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Topa.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Ian Cameron will be a few minutes late. He was in Roland Street the last we spoke. And Glenys Breitenbach has a standing apology for the week.
What is the apology on Honorable Breitenbach?
Chair, it has been, I think, explained, and she said for the whole week she would not be here due to party business.
Oh, okay. Any further apologies? Honorable Vessels.
Thank you, Chairperson. I will just have to be excused around 3 o'clock just to introduce 2 reports in the plenary.
Okay. Thank you so much. The rotation starts now. Who is starting from the African National Congress?
Thank you very much, Chair. Mr. O'Sullivan, a lot of evidence has been presented before the committee. And amongst the issues that were raised with the committee, one is that you have, through a video that was played here, threatened Parliament and the members of the committee. The second issue that the committee had to deal with is a threatening message you sent to Mr. Nkabinde when he was testifying here. After you have staged a walkout, General Pahlane reiterated that you have constantly sent him threatening and insulting messages. Yesterday, a prosecutor that prosecuted a case against you, Advocate Mashukha, showed us numerous threatening and insulting messages you sent to him when he was a prosecutor in a case against you. Why are you this bully? Why are you this bully? Why are you this bully? Bully. Yes. Why? You don't know.
I can't explain.
You are just bully without any explanation. You just bully around people. Threaten them. You threatened, according to the evidence that was delivered to us yesterday, Advocate Mashukha, that you are going to send him to jail. You later, after he's arrested, are going to go after his wife. You are going to ensure that his house is taken to auction. You will buy that house in auction and you'll sell it for profit. Why are you bullying people around? Where do you get this authority, you and you alone, to bully people around?
Sorry, Chairman, it might be seen as bullying on my part, but it needs to be taken into context with the unlawful conduct of those people against me, which included dragging me off a plane in front of my minor children, assaulting me, detaining and torturing me for 3 days, repeatedly raiding my offices, and all sorts of other extraneous activities, including falsely charging me and forcing me to stand trial on no fewer than 6 different trumped-up trials, 4 of which were acquitted. I was found not guilty. It forced me to spend 88 days in court of my own time and 140 days in preparing to spend 88 days in court. I had to move my family to the other side of the world for their own protection because people wanted to kill me, and that included police officers who were part of this whole conspiracy against me. So if my conduct was seen as bullying, it was a response to the outrageous and egregious conduct of prosecutors and police officials who acted unlawfully as they were part of the state capture project. They wanted to silence anybody that was exposing corruption. So that really is the very simple answer for the alleged bullying. But to be frank with you, the criminal justice system, as we know, is still captured. And the cases I've opened against those people are still gathering dust, save for the cases I've opened against Pahlane, because he's now on trial for, I think, plus minus, I don't know the exact figure, but plus minus 300 million rand. And if I hadn't have opened the case against him, I think he would have probably gotten away with it. And if I hadn't have stuck to my guns, and if we look at this in perspective, I opened the case against General Pahlane in February 2016. And by October 2016, no investigation had been done whatsoever, apart from apart from the investigation which I carried out at my own expense, on my own risk, to identify witnesses and take statements from them, because IPID was captured at that stage.
Okay.
So I'm sorry it's seen by certain people as bullying. It's certainly seen by the people who attacked me as bullying, but what they failed to do is point out, while they're describing my bullying, the unlawful conduct that they carried out against myself and my family. And
Okay.
yeah, that's it in a
No,
nutshell.
that's fine. Even so, there is nothing that gives you a right to insult and threaten people. And for that matter, the evidence that is before us is that there is nothing wrong we have done as this committee. There is nothing wrong Advocate Mashokha did, but you sent him threatening emails. But let's part that part. Let's pass that part. So, was the braai about a braai or about a book launch?
Are we talking about the braai in December 2016?
Yes.
The braai was a year-end braai, and invited to that braai was a journalist who wrote a book, and that book was distributed at the braai, and also distributed at the braai was a document, which is actually in part of my bundle, called Joining the Dots. Unfortunately, whatever else took place at the braai is a complete misrepresentation. I was only there for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then I left because I had to go to the airport. I was flying overseas. So it was a braai and a book launch and the handing out of a document called Joining the Dots, Chairman.
Okay, if so, why was it highly confidential? If it's a braai and a distribution of copies of a book written by one of your own, why was it highly confidential?
It wasn't confidential, Chairman. The only thing that was confidential at the time, and this is a fact, at the time there was an attempt to murder myself, and at the time I didn't want anybody to know where I was. So the only thing that was confidential was the fact that the braai was taking place and that I would be there. Bearing in mind, by that stage, I'd already survived something like 6 or 7 attempts on my life in the prior 3 years to that time.
Did you buy a Rodovan Krisha's house? The prosecutor that prosecuted your impersonating an IPID official case solicited witness statements from the security guards that were there when you visited the estate manager, and the people who were dealing with the building plans and stuff. And they are corroborating with the allegations made by General Pashani that you have asked them questions about, amongst other things, the nature of the guns his protectors carry, how many protectors, how many cars and stuff. And you have said to us, you only went there to point out what you deemed as a crime scene. So how did this kind of question be part of what you call just a pointing out of a crime scene?
Chairman, there was a criminal investigation by IPID, which was 10 months late getting off the ground because of the capture of IPID by the then Minister of Police and others. And the investigation, when it got off the ground, resulted in me being requested, and I complied with the request, to assist bring the investigating team up to speed. And I've set this out in some detail. The allegations, and I didn't see what took place, I believe, in this committee yesterday. But the allegations, the false allegations made by Michael Mashuga, contained within his affidavit, is a repeat of the same allegations he placed before the Zondo Commission in 2020. And I provided a very detailed response to those allegations, including the tape recordings of the meetings that we had, which proved that the counter investigation being carried out by the Northwest team or Mabula team, whatever you would like to call it, the counter investigation being carried out by them resulted in them obtaining contradictory sworn statements from witnesses who had already provided sworn statements to IPID officials. And the sworn statements provided to IPID officials were now being countered under the false allegation. And I believe the evidence has been led by Robert McBride. The false allegation was that there was a so-called threat against General Pashlane. But the reality of the situation is there was no request to carry out a threat analysis. That was a cover story. And the cover story resulted in a docket being opened, I think, on the first week or the second week of January, multiplicity of statements being taken from state witnesses who had already given statements to IPID, and 3 weeks later, fraudulently obtaining arrest warrants and then arresting people to stop the investigation into General Pashlane. The end result was that IPID took it upon themselves to launch an application in the High Court to have the counter-investigation declared unlawful, and the counter-investigation eventually, I think it was Justice Tugton, Neil Tugton, and Justice Neil Tugton gave an order stating that the conduct of the Northwest team was illegal. But notwithstanding all of that, my submission to the Zondo Commission sets out chapter and verse with evidence, and the evidence includes the transcripts of the meetings that took place. And those transcripts prove beyond reasonable doubt, and the voice recordings prove beyond reasonable doubt, that the counter-investigation statements were false, and they were only intended to bring false charges against myself, my then corporate counsel, Sarah Jane Trent, and I think 2 or 3, I can't remember their names, of the IPID officers that were carrying out the investigation based on the docket which I had opened. And at that point, it became clear that, in fact, the docket I had opened ended up getting parked. And I don't think, although he was arrested on it, I don't think he was prosecuted on it. And then other dockets were opened by IPID, which I had absolutely nothing to do with.
Okay, no, I think we got to the point. Did you or did you not threaten those people there to falsify statements, to give you personal banking details of people, to give you the building plan of General Pashlane's house, and if not, they are liable for an imprisonment of a time period not less than 2 years because they are defying you and you are from IPID?
And the answer is no. It's an absolute lie.
So if you were there to point out a crime scene as a complainant at IPID, what was Ms. Trent doing there?
What was what?
Ms. Trent doing there?
Well, she was my corporate counsel. She's an attorney, and she assisted me with the investigation into Pashlani. She was also at the time a director of Forensics for Justice. Forensics for Justice were carrying out the investigation. Forensics for Justice was registered, and the purpose of Forensics for Justice is to expose state-sponsored corruption. And if you go on the website, you can see all the cases there where we have brought charges against people for corruption. And I think only 2 of those cases involved working with IPID, and that was the case against General Mkhwanazi, who eventually got fired. It was found that his appointment was unlawful because he was not a fit and proper person, and also the Pashlani matter. And the Pashlani matter that the docket I opened only related to where the funds came from for the construction of his house and his corrupt relationship with a police supplier. And when IPID investigate that, they found a lot more. And I wasn't involved in that investigation at all.
Okay. Let's go back to your walkout,
The what?
your march out.
Mass house. What?
When you stood up and left in Parliament. Do you understand that you took an oath that you are going to answer fully and satisfactorily? And you just stood up when the evidence leader was still busy questioning you. Do you not consider that as a breaking your own oath that you have taken in Parliament? And consequences for that should be followed in accordance to the powers, privileges, and immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislators Act.
No, I don't.
You stood up without being released.
Honorable Ngola, that question is not related to our terms of reference. It's a matter which the committee can deal with at its own time.
Are you saying, Chair, we shouldn't ask questions in relation to the march out?
Yeah, no, it's not related to our terms of reference. Let's probe the witness for the purpose we called him here. If members want to discuss that matter, we can discuss it later, but not during the proceedings. If you want the witness to respond to that, let's deal with the matters that we called him here for. And when we are done with these proceedings, if you want him to explain that incident, then we can give you time to deal with that.
No, Chair, you'll recall that at the time of the incident, you would have rotated the matter and asked if we want Mr. Sullivan back. And would have, as members, expressly said yes, and given the reasons why we want Mr. O'Sullivan back. And amongst those reasons was the conduct of him as a witness under oath in respect of the work we're doing here as Parliament. So I don't understand now if we are not going to go to that extent, Chair, because we have expressly said amongst the reasons we want him back is that the way he has conducted himself in this work we're doing is actually relevant to a sitting of this.
That is exactly what I'm saying, that for now, use your time to ask him questions. When we are done with this part, we will give you a chance to ask him questions on that matter.
That's fine, Chair. I'm happy to.
It must be a separate item.
Okay.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's fine, Chair. I'm done for the first part. Thank you.
The 3 minutes that I've taken from you, don't want to use them.
No, I'm done. Chair.
Okay. Honorable Sangoni.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning again, Mr. O'Sullivan. You know what? I think a lot of ground we've already canvassed, but there are obviously things that have since arisen since the last time you were here, and we thought that we would use this opportunity to then address those. Now, just this morning when you arrived, you said SAPS is still captured. Who has captured SAPS right now, according to you?
Chairman, I've set this out in my affidavit in some detail. And I remain of the opinion that certain senior management within the police, specifically within crime intelligence, and the police commissioner himself, they have a lot of questions to answer. And I'm not Parliament, but somebody somewhere needs to be asking those questions. And the type of questions I'm talking about are set out in some detail in my affidavit. And I have gone over it already. If you require me to go through it again, I'm happy to do so. But I remain of the opinion that if you can open a docket in South Africa and 3 weeks later get warrants of arrest for 2 people or 4 people who are exposing a corrupt police chief, that's proof that the state is captured, that the police and the prosecution service is captured. And then when those people get arrested in breach of a High Court order that says that I may not be arrested, and by the way, I spent over R500,000 to get that High Court order. And the only reason I applied for that High Court order was because the cops the dirty cops, kept raiding my offices and kept threatening to arrest me, and did arrest me and drag me off planes and do all these nasty things. I was left no alternative but to get the High Court order. Having obtained the High Court order, we have video footage of this Northwest team arresting me and my attorney reading the High Court order out to them and them saying that order doesn't apply to us. And then that same night, when my attorneys go and bring an urgent application for habeas corpus at midnight in the High Court, because it's an urgent matter, the same prosecutor that was here yesterday, Michael Mashuka, he went there and told the court that order doesn't apply to him either. And they wanted to detain me. And the reason they want to detain me was as punishment to stop me from exposing corruption.
Okay, I've got the High Court order because I wanted to ask you about that. But you see why, and I don't want you to go back to your affidavit. I mean, we've gone through that at length. The problem we have, whether it's your problem or our problem as a committee, is that everybody makes sweeping statements about how corrupt criminal intelligence is. I would have thought that at least you would be in a position to at least give us some sort of evidence around this. Would you be able to do that? Do you have evidence that points to this corruption in criminal intelligence and the police commissioner?
Yeah, I have the evidence, Chairman. It's contained within my affidavit. And I mean, must we go back to it and read it? Because it's there. I've set out copious detail of how the crime intelligence Secret Service account, which I call a slush fund, has been a piggy bank for senior police officials for the last 20 years. And it's still a piggy bank. And in 2012, I've used as an example, that piggy bank budget was 98 million rand per annum. This year, it's 600 million rand per annum, which is a growth of over 500%. And during the same period, inflation only grew at 113%. And then you end up with a situation where
And so Advocate Mashruga contends that you have contravened both the National Prosecuting Authority Act as well as the National Credit Act, and he sets out why. So I'm going to start with the National Credit Act. He's talking about your ability and consistent obtaining of personal credit information, amongst others, financial information of private citizens. Now, you are not authorized to have that information, do you?
Chairman, that's not correct. If you look at the Act, and I don't have the Act in front of me because I didn't know this question would be coming. If you look at the Act, it makes it clear that the information can be used for fraud prevention and fraud investigation purposes. Now, fraud and corruption are pretty much the same thing. Quite often, Chairman, a person is charged with fraud and corruption or just fraud. And those investigations, they are investigative tools. So there's every certified fraud examiner in the country who carries out fraud investigations, signs a code of conduct, has access to those tools.
But it was,
they're not allowed to.
Sorry, Mr. O'Sullivan. When you were getting the personal information of Mr. Dupree, for example, Mr. General Mkhwanazi's driver, were you investigating him for fraud?
No, Chairman, when you're doing a fraud investigation, you have to be able to find witnesses. And in the case of General Mkhwanazi, we received information, and it was the builder of the house. His name, Frikkie de Blanche. And Frikkie de Blanche gave information that he was paid with checkers or spar bags out of the boot of General Mkhwanazi's car. And the first payment was 350,000 Rand in cash. The second payment was 350,000 Rand in cash. So we asked him who was the driver of the car. Actually, it was IPID that wanted to know his details. He couldn't provide that details. So all we had was a name. And I can't remember the first name. I think it was Alvain. Alvain Dupree. So we went through the population register and got a list of all the A. Duprees. And then you can work out by looking which one of them is working in the police. And then we were able to establish that. We then provide that information to IPID. And then IPID decided to interview, and they asked me to go with. And the reason they asked me to go with was because they felt, this is the late
Sorry, I think
Nhlanhla
you've answered
Mkhwanazi.
me.
He felt that Mr. Dupree would answer questions better to a white man than he would to a black man.
Mr. O'Sullivan, when you got then Honorable Skhosana's information, were you investigating him for fraud?
I didn't get his information. It's a High Court judgment and it's public information. So I got a phone call the week before I appeared last time, and the phone call gave me the details. I sent somebody to Middelburg High Court, and they confirmed to me that there was a High Court judgment against Mr. Skhosana.
But were you profiling then the members of this committee, Mr. O'Sullivan? Because I don't know why that would necessarily be of interest to you.
Well, it's not of interest to me unless somebody phones me and provides me information. So we don't profile. I don't know anything about you or anybody else on the committee. The only person I got information about was Mr. Skhosana, and it was a phone call. They provided the information. I then decided to check it out.
But can you see where I'm going with this, Mr. O'Sullivan? It's, I mean, there's accusations that are made because of your forensic capabilities. You are able to go after private citizens, you get their personal information, and then that is used to intimidate them. What would be your comment to that?
That's absolutely not true.
Okay, then I think I think Honorable Ngola has asked you about USTA and FENTA and the issues of misrepresentation.
The Mr. What, sorry?
Misrepresentation, because it said that, you know, you misrepresented yourself as an IPID officer. I don't want to go back there. But I want to go to Advocate Mashukha, and this is a conversation we're having as members, that everybody sits there. You've got markedly different versions of what had happened. But in Advocate Mashukha's statement, he says there's an email that you wrote to Mzinyati, who I think was the DPP of Gauteng, if I'm not mistaken, where you said the latest criminal suspect I need to bring to your attention is Advocate Mashukha, and then you go on and on. Now, why do you refer to Mashukha as a criminal suspect, and what evidence do you have that Mashukha is a criminal?
So the email, I don't have it in front of me, but the email would have set out the reasons why, and also would have set out the reasons why was my statement to the Zondo Commission, which is 55 pages long, and I set out chapter and verse in there. And if the chair requires, I will make that statement available to this committee through the evidence leader. And that statement sets out chapter and verse that Michael Mashukha perjured himself by lying through his teeth to the Zondo Commission and to the court, where...
Sorry, without going to the statement, sorry, Mr. O'Sullivan, without going to the statement, but I mean, when you say he's a criminal, can you just, is it a crime of perjury, or is there anything else that you are accusing Advocate Mashukha of?
My allegations were perjury and defeating the ends of justice.
In relation to the case that he was prosecuting you for?
In relation to his conduct in assisting the Northwest team to shut down an investigation involving General Pashlani, where the allegations were quite clear that we had a corrupt acting chief of police. Now, if you have a corrupt acting chief of police, it doesn't take long to figure out what's going to happen to the criminal justice system. And in the case of General Pashlani, the evidence against him is overwhelming. I think he's arraigned on 2 or 3 different trials. By the way, we had nothing to do with those investigations at all. That was other work that IPID did. I had no knowledge of that. But in my affidavit to the Zondo Commission, I set out to prove that there were 5 lies that Advocate Mashukha made in order to obtain warrants of arrest. So that means he fraudulently obtained warrants of arrest for one reason and one reason only, because he was part of a conspiracy to shut down a corruption investigation.
Okay. Your High Court order, Mr. O'Sullivan, so you go to court, you say that you're being harassed by the South African Police Services, I'll assume. And you, I'm sure amongst your prayers, you ask for 48 hours notification before an arrest. Is my understanding correct in terms of what you asked the court for? I mean, I think I'm struggling to understand why a court would grant a citizen such unprecedented, in my view, leeway to say the cops cannot touch you in any matter in perpetuity. You must be given 48 hours notice. Could you take us through how that would have come about?
Sure. Chairman, this is a very simple one to explain. This took place in September. The application was launched in September 2016. Now, prior to September 2016, I had received multiple breaches of my constitutional rights by dirty cops being directed by various parties, and those parties included the then head of DPCI, Major General Mkhwanazi, the Gauteng head of DPCI, Major General Mkhwanazi, and the acting chief of police, General Pashlani. Now, in my affidavit, I set out chapter and verse as to why that court order was necessary. Because the harassment, we asked for an undertaking, we were given an undertaking, and a week later, the prosecutor said, no, I'm not honoring that undertaking, I'm going to arrest your client again. So then we went to court. And in fact, we didn't ask for that court order. What we asked for was that for any alleged offence that took place prior to, and I think the date was 1st of June 2016, for any alleged offence prior to the 1st of June 2016, I not be arrested at all, but I be brought to court with a J175, which is a summons to attend court. And the prosecutor made it clear that no, he'll arrest when he feels like it. Now, that's contrary to prosecution policy. It's contrary to the rules, and it's contrary to the Constitution, because arrest is the last means to get a person to court. You can summons a person to come to court. Now, why would you arrest a person except, and by the way, there's 2 DPCI judge reports as part of my bundle. And in those DPCI judge reports, the second DPCI judge report, which they took 3 years to investigate, they found, and it's in my statement, they found that the conduct against me was a massive violation of my constitutional rights. And if you look at the letters from the prosecutors, they made it clear that the intention was to arrest at any cost. Okay. So there was clearly a conspiracy to shut down the corruption investigations we were busy with.
Okay. So, Mr. O'Sullivan, you do agree, though, that there's now the special dispensation that is created for you and arguably you alone. What do you intend to do in these 48 hours that you must be given notice before you're arrested?
Prepare bail application so that they can't do what they did last time, which is to drag me off to a police station, tell my lawyers I'm at another police station, and then hide me and put me in a place where they can torture me. And that's what they did for 3 days and nights.
So given that Mr. Nhlanhla, Mr. Pahlane, and all of them are no longer in the system, would you be looking at getting that order revoked? Would you have any objections to having it revoked?
Well, given the conduct of the police right now, I would absolutely object to it. By the way, the police launched an application to set it aside and they lost. Okay. So the reality, and let me explain to you why they lost, Chairman. They lost because they weren't able to prove that their conduct was lawful. So you cannot have police deciding, let's punish this guy by arresting him on a Friday afternoon and keeping him until Monday. And while we keep him, we'll hide him somewhere. That's what the apartheid police were doing.
Okay. Mr. O'Sullivan, sorry, my last question. I do apologize. I've run out of time. Will you ever get to a point where you acknowledge, if not admit, you acknowledge that in your interaction with IPID in particular, and I think during the time of Mr. McBride, you would have overstepped what any ordinary citizen investigator is meant to be doing? You were sharing phone numbers, ID numbers, forensic details, all sorts of things that you should not be having, effectively ingraining yourself within IPID and IPID machinery. Advocate Mashucha contends that that is the reason why you paid for Mr. McBride's legal fees, so that when he gets back, you are embedded within IPID. Do you still maintain that you have not overstepped your the legal framework in which you are meant to operate as far as an investigator is concerned who is outside IPID, because you are not an IPID member?
No, of course I'm not an IPID member, and I never held myself out to be an IPID member, Chairman. And as far as making a contribution to legal fees, I didn't pay the legal fees, I made a contribution. What we had at that time is we had a captured police service, we had a captured prosecution service, and state capture was in full swing. And while
But then did you not then capture IPID?
pardon me?
Did you then not go and capture
No,
IPID?
absolutely not. In fact, the reality of the situation is that when I didn't just, by the way, make a donation towards the legal fees of Robert McBride. We also made a donation, and I know they've disputed it, but it's a fact of life, and I've got the proof. We made a donation, I think, of 100,000 rand to the Helen Suzman Foundation. The reality of it is that the only possibility of starting somewhere to uncapture a captured state, I saw we weren't going to get anywhere with trying to uncapture the police. We weren't going to get anywhere with uncapturing the prosecution service. We had an unlawfully appointed head of prosecution service, Sean Abrahams. We had an unlawfully appointed head of the police. We had an unlawfully appointed head of the DPCI. We had an unlawfully suspended head of IPID, and the acting head of IPID was in cahoots with the criminal syndicate that were involved in state capture. So I was quite keen to see Mr. McBride back at work, and hopefully, you know, it was kind of the last chance of trying to do something to save this country from going down the drain. And when I got involved with Mr. McBride, which was at the end or beginning of November 2016, I took that involvement through, by the way, I was overseas for Christmas, but I took that involvement through till probably the end of January, and then I said, I've done enough, I'm stepping back. And that's exactly what happened. And if that's capturing IPID, that is a dream. It's the opinion of the Northwest team and their captured prosecutor, and it's the dream of Mr. Pashlani, and it's the dream of Mr. Nkabindi. And if you really want to get to the bottom of things, you must try and work out how all these witnesses miraculously appeared here with this single narrative that actually Paul O'Sullivan is the head of state capture, not all these criminals.
Okay, final question. So what is your relationship now with our law enforcement agencies? Are you still embedded, my word, are you still embedded within the system? And why did you feel the need, all the way from London, I think you were at, I'm not sure, to come out and blast General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi the way that you did after his press conference? I think at some point he even sought to sue you, if I'm not mistaken.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Okay, first thing is your current relationship with law enforcement, and then you went out and you attacked General Mkhwanazi after his 6th July press conference. Why did you feel the need to do that? If I'm not mistaken, and you were not even in the country. He threatened to sue you, the way insults flying left, right, and center. What is it about that triggered you so much that you felt the need to do that? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I answer that?
Write the question down. The
Okay.
the time of the...
So,
No.
my problem...
Mr. Apollos.
Pardon?
The time of the member has expired. Write the question down.
Oh. Okay, I'm finished now.
She will write it down. She will remind you later during my time. Now is the time for other members. Her time has expired. The MKP, listen here. It's now 11 o'clock. You are going to share the hour between the three of you. 20 minutes, 20. If you speak for 20 minutes, it's not my problem. So you give each other 20 minutes. 20 past, 22, 11 o'clock. Your time starts now.
Yeah, thanks, Chair.
Chairman, can I just ask something first? Can we put this screen up here? Because I'm not able to turn. I have a spine problem and I cannot turn and look this way. But if we can put a screen up there, I can see the person that's talking, and I can be able to relate to it. But I cannot turn and look over here.
Yeah, the two of them are coming to sit here immediately.
Okay, thank you, Chairman.
Yeah. Yeah, I want you to look at each other in the eye and smile with each other.
Thank you, Chair. Can I proceed? Good morning, Mr. O'Sullivan.
Good morning.
Yeah, let's start from the response that you have given to Honorable Sangoni about the 48-hour notice. If I heard you correctly, you are saying the reason why you must be given a 48-hour notice before you are arrested is because they want to afford you an opportunity to do bail application. Is that what you have said?
Yeah, that's what I said, but it's not just that. It's also to have lawyers on standby, because what the police were doing on a regular basis were attempting to arrest me. They threatened to, while I'm in court, I brought an application, for example, Chairman, to get my passports handed back to me because they refused to give me my passports. They didn't want me to travel overseas. So I had to bring an application in court to get my passports back. And when they handed my passports back, they first of all tried not to hand me my passports back.
Yeah,
They,
no, I
they
think
said, no, but this is very important.
No,
because
no.
it's very
But-
important
but-
you understand
But you
the
have
reason
responded
why.
to what I was asking.
Sorry?
So I'm saying you've responded to what I was asking.
Okay.
And I think that is enough. So, that to me means there are laws for Mr. Paul O'Sullivan and laws for other citizens in this country. Because in terms of the process, when a suspect is arrested, he must appear in court within 48 hours to be charged formally, and thereafter is given 7 days while in custody to make bail application. So that means there are different rules or there are different laws for Mr. Paul O'Sullivan in South Africa.
Well, I think the laws are the same for everybody in the country.
No, but there is
Sorry, am I allowed to answer the
yeah,
question,
but if
Chairman,
you can
or am I
quote,
going to be
if
interrupted
you
while
can quote
answering
the law
question?
that says before you are arrested, you must be given a 48-hour notice.
Chairman, there was a High Court application brought in September 2016 as a result of multiple abuses of my constitutional rights. That High Court application was initially opposed by the state, and in November 2016, the state agreed to the order and the High Court order was made.